Hi, I'm Louise from A2A Training, and I'll talk to you today about the Level 7 Senior Leader Endpoint Assessment for standard ST0480 version 1.2. So the Senior Leader EPA has two assessment methods: the Strategic Business Proposal presentation and questioning, and the professional discussion underpinned by the portfolio of evidence. So as part of Gateway, we'd ask the apprentice to please provide us with a 500-word maximum summary of what they plan their business proposal to be. And this can be added to the Gateway form. Once we've received this, we'll check this at Gateway, confirm suitability, or give you feedback and ask you to make some amendments. Of course, the strategic business proposal is undertaken after Gateway and must involve the apprentice completing a relevant, defined piece of work that gives a real business benefit. And of course, it must meet the KSBs, the key skills and behaviours. The strategic business proposal does not need to be fully implemented during the EPA period, but it does need to be that business benefit that will enable implementation at a suitable time for the organisation. It must also be approved by a senior leader or board member. There's a list here for some suggestions of what you could do for your business proposal, or you can come up with your own ideas. So apprentices will be given a maximum of 12 weeks to complete the business proposal along with the report, and we've created a structured document to help you prepare your assignment based on the KSBs required. There's a maximum word count of 4,000 words. There is a tolerance of 10%, so that can be 10% less or more at the apprentice's discretion. The word count excludes tables, graphs, figures, references and annexes. So you've got a minimum word count of 3,600, maximum 4,400. And if you do go over the word count, we will simply stop marking at 4,400 words. So here's some important areas to ensure you include in your report: an executive summary, the scope of the business proposal, including KPIs, objectives. You might also want to include things such as Gantt charts, risk matrix, RACI matrix, for example, financial budgeting and resources, the implementation of the project once that's ready, and an analysis of options, also recommendations and conclusions. And if you use our structured document that we've prepared, you'll find prompts to cover all these areas. Presentation slides must also be uploaded with the report, and slides can include notes if you wish. The presentation will focus and expand upon the report and allow the apprentice to cover things such as the intended outcomes and impact, how the planning was structured, the rationale for activities, any further recommendations, and negotiation with stakeholders. So as the apprentice should be given around 4 weeks notice of your presentation date, and this will allow your independent endpoint assessor time to prepare. The presentation and questions will take around 60 minutes and is completed online using platforms such as Teams or Zoom. The independent endpoint assessor can add up to 10% to the time if needed. And the presentation will normally last around 20 minutes and the remaining time will be used for questions. The independent endpoint assessor needs to ask you at least 6 questions, but likely many more, and with at least 2 questions from each of the themes and grading descriptors. The professional discussion is underpinned by the portfolio of evidence and will last around 60 minutes, with the independent endpoint assessor allowed to increase this to 66 minutes if needed. Again, there's a minimum amount of questions, which is 8, but it is likely to be many more than that. You are encouraged to refer to your portfolio of evidence during the professional discussion to support your responses, and it's likely you'll have around 4 weeks' notice. So the portfolio itself will have been submitted around Gateway time, and this should include pieces of your best work whilst you've been on programme. You'll also submit a mapping document to show the assessor where to find each of the evidence. It should contain real work tasks, and we're looking at quality rather than quantity. Of course, be aware of GDPR and confidentiality and redact any information that's personal if you need to. So examples of evidence for your portfolio of evidence could be audio or professional discussions, written statements, project plans, observation reports, feedback, presentations and performance reviews. There's 3 grades for this endpoint assessment: distinction, pass or fail. An apprentice will be awarded a fail or pass or distinction for each assessment method and then the overall apprenticeship. All pass criteria need to be met for a pass, and all pass and distinction criteria for a distinction. So you'll need to be in a room on your own to complete all elements of the endpoint assessment. The EPA is completed under examination conditions and can be completed from work, home or at your college or training provider. Please log in around 15 minutes early to check your connection, and always check the requirements of the assessment plan, and any changes to the assessment plan must be adhered to. Allow around 2.5 to 3 hours to allow time for setup, contingency, as well as breaks and assessment. And remember to bring photographic ID on the day of your endpoint assessment, like a driver's licence or passport. And all results are released within 7 working days. Good luck with your endpoint assessment, and here's our email address should you need us.